Hey, welcome to the Jesus, Sex, and Politics podcast. I'm Micah.
I'm Nathan.
And here we talk about all the things that culture doesn't want to talk about.
And that might scare you.
Hey, we're here today. We've got an amazing show. We've got friends of mine that I absolutely love. And you've probably heard them if you live in the Indianapolis area and you listen to radio ever. We have in the studio today the ones and the onlys. Can I say that? Mock and Rob. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, so I have a question for you.
Okay, good. This is going to be
and Nathan,
fun
maybe
show.
you can answer this. How is he everywhere?
How is he everywhere?
At this time last year, he was a guy. He was a guy who I knew. I met him at a Qdoba, and he was a guy who'd ran for Congress. And I was like, "Gosh darn it, I got to meet with this guy." Okay, fine. And now he's everywhere.
He's kind of the man.
Yes.
The schedule is fast, and so we don't really make him keep hours as much. We're just like, where's Micah? Does anybody can somebody check the schedule?
Yeah, it's all laid out on the calendar. You can see where I'm at, but there's a lot there. But I will say this, Rob, just like with Don Rainwater, you made me.
Yeah, that's what I do.
We're kingmakers.
That's right.
Will you give me a plaque at some convention like Rainwater did?
That's right. If you don't know who Don Rainwater was, he was the Libertarian candidate that ran for governor last year, and you got him 14 million votes.
14
Is that
million.
something like that?
And it came out to 12% of the vote. No. It's amazing the impact you guys are having. And like I said, I'm getting sick of seeing you at every single event that pulls up in my timeline.
Oh, I love you, man. I don't know.
Well, I can't tell you how many people that are actually beginning to come to our church because they heard Micah on the MocknRob
Yeah.
show.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So
You guys-
every one of our campuses, I'm meeting people all the time.
Yeah.
that-
Do you guys keep track of how much they donate so we know what our monetary impact is on the church?
Well, between that and all of the he's done so many of these religious exemptions, and a lot of those folks they're like thank you, they're so grateful. And he was telling me yesterday we had like 30 people that have given to the church as a result of just
from out of state.
From out of state, yeah.
So and we don't we say all the time, like, hey, you don't have to. They'll ask us, can we give you some money? I'm like, no, we're doing this to defend your freedom because that's what we do, right? And they said, well, we want to bless the church somehow. So I say, all right, well, here's the link to the online giving. So they'll do that. So I like to defend people's freedoms. I know Rob does not do that during football season. So he's made that very clear. So if you're listening to this, you need your freedom defended, and it's not football season, go to Rob. But
Here's the deal, and I again, Mock, you can pipe in on this. I feel like I do my part for the cause. 8 months out of the year.
You do some things.
I'm
yes.
hyper motivated 24/7, 8 months out of the year. 4 months out of the year, that's mine. Give 2/3 to the people, keep one for myself.
Gotcha.
It's a lot better.
You're tithing to
that's
yourself.
Right. I'm tithing to myself. And by the way, my favorite thing was you were on the news recently about the religious exemptions.
Yeah.
I think it was Wish
yeah,
TV.
Wish, yeah.
And this photo, I'm scrolling through my feed, and it says, pastor issues religious exemptions. And I'm looking at this photo of you, and I'm like, that looks a lot like Micah, but it was badly lit. It was like you were in a dungeon somewhere. Your hair was not perfectly in place like it normally is. It was like bizarro Micah. And then I'm like, that is Micah.
Maybe it was Misha.
There could have been Misha. It could have been.
The alter ego.
That's right. Listen, man, I got people out for me. When I write those religious exemptions, I do it in a safe place. Okay, I go down into the bomb shelter. I write the religious exemptions, and then we send them out by pigeons. So, no, but yeah, man, it's so good to have you guys. And so I thought today we could talk a little bit. Nathan and I were just discussing about where we go with this. But one, just kind of want to hear sort of your backstory, kind of how you guys built your influence. Because this show is, we want to help people, hey, everyone has a voice, and you guys are just normal people. That's what I love about you. I think that's what the listening audience in Indianapolis loves about you guys is you're normal, authentic people. So kind of how you got your start, and then we kind of want to talk a little bit about like truth in our culture right now. Because one thing I've noticed about the WIBC the listening audience is even if they're not believers like Christians, they know truth. Like they'll know what's right. and a lot of times they just don't always connect those dots, like the why behind the truth. You know, they might say, man, I really believe self-defense is a right that I should have. And it's like, yeah, because God gave you that. Here in his word, this is where it says you have a right to defend yourself. Oh, I never knew that. I knew it was right, but I didn't know that it was because
why or where it came
yeah,
from.
right. And so I've loved that really about the WIBC audience, because there's a truth that people are gravitating towards, but there's the absolute truth on the why behind it. So we kind of want to dive into that a little bit and get your thoughts on that, and then. But first, I just say, tell us about how you guys got to where you are today.
Well,
big deal.
Mock's story is much happier than mine, so we'll let her go first.
What do you mean happier? What does that even mean?
Well, you live in Carmel.
Okay, but yours is actually like a true, born into radio kind of story.
I think what you're looking for is American success. I think the phrase you're looking for is an American success story.
No, that's not what I was looking for at all. But but you're a person who knew from the time that you could crawl that you wanted to be in radio. So this has been your path, and that's very different from my story.
And Mock was, oddly enough, both the gatekeeper and the blockade at various times to my success. So I served in elected office for 4 years at the local level.
You're the reason that we're in the crap that
it's
we're
all
in.
me. And I was going to run for state senate, and I started thinking about this and thinking about it, and I thought, man, I'm not going to get anything done there because they're going to hate me. And I know how the Republican Party deals with people they hate. They lock you in a corner. They tell everybody that you're crazy.
Did that ever happen to you, Micah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, many times. It's happening now.
And so at the time, there was a radio station that had just come on the air in Hendricks County, and they said, we think you'd be really good at doing a show. And Micah, you know this. You can be a commentator or a politician. You can't be a commentator and a politician. And so I said, talking about other people sounds way better than being talked about. I'm going to go do that. And then I got the interview with Trump. And then WIBC was like, who is this guy? How did he get Trump? And so they brought me in as sort of the permanent fill-in guy. And then they made a programming change lineup, right? They moved you guys.
Oh, time-wise.
Yeah. From afternoons to middays.
And by you guys, you're speaking of the chicks on the right.
Who?
Yes, right. He never likes to actually remember.
Which is pretty awesome. Chicks, listen, the chicks, when I told my sister from Michigan, I was like, I'm going to be on the MocknRob show. She was like, I've never heard of him. I'm like, Mock's one of the chicks on the right. And she was like, oh my gosh, what? You're going to be on the chicks on the right? No, I'm going to be on MocknRob. But that's Mock from Chicks on the Right. I was like, oh man. I, pulled the phone back from my ear, and she's screaming in my ear. I'm like,
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal, Rob.
I say this in a good way. They're like a cult following. Like, your people are the chicks on the right, as loyal as the WIBC audience is. The chicks on the right audience is even more loyal than that.
We have an amazing community, and that's what we're the proudest of, right? When it comes to our whole brand, it's the community that we have built, because the people that have somehow found their way to our podcast or our website or however it is that they found us, our old radio show, they become friends with each other. And then there's all of these little offshoot communities and friendships that form. And then we hear about them. And that's the most satisfying and rewarding part about all of it. And it was a total accident and this complete weird serendipitous way that that Amy Jo, who's the other chick, that Amy Jo and I found each other. So it turns out, I'm going to try to make a very long story super short, that she grew up about 7 houses away from my husband in Atlanta, Georgia. But that had nothing to do with how we met. So I'm here in Indianapolis, obviously married to my husband. I interview her for a job back in the day when I was in HR and she was a technical writer. And this was right when Facebook was starting to be a thing. So this was 2007, summer of 2007. And well, you were on it way before that, Rob, because you were hitting on all the ladies.
Facebook was designed to pick up chicks.
Right.
I remember seeing you on MySpace. I was like, this guy's really creepy. I remember saying that from my college dorm room, like, stay away from Rob.
You know, MySpace really it was like the dark web of social media. If you were walking in the front door, you were DMing through Facebook. If you were up to shenanigans, you were on MySpace.
Like, hey guys, you want to come meet my new friend Tom?
Tom Anderson, he's so nice. So anyway, it turns out I interviewed her. There wasn't like a match at the time, but I remember really liking her on the phone. I hadn't met her in person. And then fast forward about a year later, and I saw that she had become friends with one of the groomsmen in our wedding. And I was like, what the heck? He's in Atlanta. She's here. I'm here. And so I asked that friend, how in the world how do you know her? Because I know I talked to her on the phone for a job last year. And he was like, oh, Ron knows her too. Your husband knows her too. We all grew up together. So then that's the kind of thing, like, girls can't let that go, right? So I immediately had to reach out to her on Messenger, and I was like, or whatever the Facebook way of communicating was at the time. And I was like, I just have to tell you this small world story. And you grew up with my husband, and like, I met you last year on the phone, and everything is so crazy. So it was girly screaming virtually. And then it turned out I had another job opening to fill at that time. I hired her at the company I was working at. We were instant best friends. And that was the summer of 2008, right before Obama got elected. And it was when he was like exploding in popularity. And we could not understand it, even though we were not particularly engaged in politics at that time. And it was all we would talk about. We'd go to lunch every day. We would talk about it. We were just like, what is happening to our country? And then that December after the election, she was like, maybe we should start a website. And so we did. And so February of 2009, that kicked off. And we had a really nice run-up of publicity after we became one of the trailblazers in terms of Facebook trying to shut us down and censor us. That happened very, very early for us.
You guys were like some of the first conservatives.
You were the OG of censorship on Facebook.
I mean, I totally agree with that statement, because that was January of 2013. And it was one of the first times that, the trolls would come out and report a post that we did en masse, and that set off all the algorithms and the triggers or whatever, and I get locked out of our account. She happily stayed in, but because it was such a new thing for Facebook to go after a conservative for just writing something snarky about Jay Carney, that was a big deal. And so Todd Starnes of Fox News ended up picking that story, and then we had this explosion of popularity, and it ended up being really great for us because Facebook then apologized publicly. That was a huge deal. And then David Wood from 93 WIBC sent us an email and said, I think you should be on the radio. And we thought he meant, oh, we're gonna be a guest on somebody's show.
On Rob's show.
Well, this time it was the Greg Garrison show.
Yeah,
he was the big guy, right?
Yeah.
And so we thought,
yeah.
oh, we would love to be on Greg's show. And David wrote back and said, I don't think you understand. I'm thinking maybe you guys would want to have a show. And we were like, oh, well, we don't know how to do that. Neither one of us have radio experience. It's not anything we've ever thought about. He was like, well, we can help you with that. And so we spent a couple weekends just going in to visit and like learning the ropes of radio. And then we started a Saturday afternoon show. That lasted a few months. We tried out for drive time and somehow got that. And then that's how I got into radio. It was a complete accident. I have no idea what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. And I just
don't say that publicly, because then the left is going to be like, she even said it herself. She doesn't know what she's doing.
I don't. I still don't. Rob can attest. I know nothing.
Yeah, she knows nothing.
I know nothing about broadcasting or like. I'm looking at the setup even in here in the room that we're recording this in. Everything looks like foreign territory. There's wires and crazy. I have no idea. All I know is that I just get myself situated in front of a mic and I just have conversations.
Yeah, so then the chicks moved from doing afternoons when Garrison retired to the midday spot, and then Hammer and Nigel took afternoons, and they said, because I was kind of the permanent fill-in guy at the time, they said, would you like to work here full time? And I said, well, it depends on with who. And they said, we're thinking about hiring you as producer for Chicks on the Right. And I said, oh, I know those chicks. They're both hot. Yeah, let's sign that up. And so they said, well, let's have you guys get together and talk. And so we went to some fancy.
It wasn't that fancy. It was First Watch.
There was no Egg McMuffin on the menu, Mock. It was pretty fancy.
Yeah, because it was breakfast. It was like breakfast food.
Yeah, and it was like more than $7 for a breakfast. And I was like, I didn't know that they could charge more than $7 for a breakfast. And there's no free refills here on whatever I got to drink. And it wasn't in a paper cup. And so I met with them. And the thing of it is, Mock hated me.
It's not true. I wasn't crazy about him. But I did not hate him.
You didn't hate him.
I
hate's a strong word.
I was just worried about, because here was the thing. I don't even know if we've like had this conversation in depth.
No, but fortunately, Daisy was totally enamored with me.
This is also fake news. That's that's a lie. That's just an outright lie.
So how do you get the job? If you didn't like him, you hated him, and Daisy wasn't enamored with him.
So the bosses at WIBC sort of give us an overview of Rob, and they're like, he's done radio. He's like owned a radio station. He knows things about radio. He's, just here's a clip of him on a show. I don't even remember what clip I listened to you of.
Probably when Trump told me I was terrific.
No, it wasn't that. But it was some clip where you were arguing with someone, and the person you were arguing with was a liberal. And I remember listening to it going, wow, he really held his own. That was good. He's clearly engaged. He clearly knows his stuff. So that wasn't the issue. But my worry was that he wouldn't be able to play. Like, he wouldn't be able to loosen up and like lose the I'm Mr. Serious Politics.
And now
man.
he doesn't even wear pants when he goes in. So like you've loosened him up a lot.
But this has been an evolution, I think. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah.
Because like for the first, 4 to 6 months, it was just not. It just wasn't. I was worried that he just could not let loose. And then finally, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if you can pinpoint it. I don't know if you can pinpoint the time where you finally felt like I can be really silly and obnoxious and inappropriate, and it works.
Yeah. Probably the time I realized you guys wouldn't sue me for sexual harassment. And so then, we ended up working together for about, 3.5 years, basically. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. Like Mock and Daisy were awesome to work with because sometimes in radio, I'm not going to name any names, but some people are really serious about what they do to the point that they're too serious. And I'm sure in your professions, your life, is industry the right word? That's not a right word, is it? But you could
maybe calling.
Yeah, the calling.
But in what you guys do every day, there's a seriousness to it, but you have to be able to read a room, adapt to the room, deliver a message that fits to the room. And sometimes in radio, people just take themselves, as I'm sure you guys find, way too serious all the time. And that's the thing with them is no matter what I did, they never got upset about it, which gives you the freedom to be whatever you want to be and know if it fails, if it doesn't work, if you try it, they're not going to get upset. And their husbands aren't going to call you and leave an angry voicemail based on what you say on the air.
Well, there's a lot of that that's similar. When we're ministering to people, they want to have a good time. We like to say Mike is a breath of fresh air. And we like to say that Mike is a breath of fresh air. And he's just tons of fun. And, the church grows and thrives on seeing people that really like to work together and can have a good time doing it. In fact, that's when I listen to you guys, I think, man, they're just fun people.
Well, I'm just sitting here just like, this is hilarious. There's so much laughter. And this is, I think, why I love the chick, so don't take this wrong. But when I heard Rob was gonna, this was before I knew you guys, so I just knew of you. When I heard Rob was gonna, take the place of Daisy, if you will, and I was like, nah, that's probably not gonna work. But as I've listened to you guys, and one of the things that always comes out over the airwaves is there's so much joy and laughter. And scripture actually really hits on this. The Bible says that laughter does good like a medicine. Mm-hmm. And right now, people feel very sick all around our country because there's so much crap going on, right? And I think when they tune into you guys don't even know it, but you're providing this medicine where they're like, you know what? They're talking about hard issues, but there's such a joy and just a laughter, and I feel better after listening. And yeah, they didn't water down the issues, but boy, I just it's like a ray of sunshine coming in on a dark, cloudy day. So
I love that. I love that you said that. And recently we've been able to talk to members of our audience at various events and stuff, and that we hear that. Like we hear that. I hear that when I'm out with Daisy. I hear it when I'm with Rob. That what people appreciate the most is that when they feel like everything is just crushing them, and the news is so awful and everything seems like it's just the worst, right? And they look to us to give them a little bit of relief from that, because they don't want to disengage. They want to know what's going on, but they don't want to just be yelled at, and they don't want to feel miserable after they listen to the show. And so that's what I hope that we do well. I feel like we do it well, because we do get that kind of feedback.
And I think you guys do this too, with what you do, is we say things that other people don't say. Like for years, WIBC was the conservative station. So it was Republican good, Democrat bad. And there were battle lines, and there were, from the old Westerns, there were white hats and black hats, and you knew who the good guys and bad guys are. And you run into this, and we talk about this all the time. And you and I go back and forth on certain individuals that just because someone puts a letter next to their name, it doesn't make them a good guy or girl. It's how they actually govern. And you guys do this with your messages too, which is delivering hard messages in a different way, that even if initially people don't agree with you, they walk out of there thinking that's different, and I'm intrigued by that.
And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh when I was 14. I spent a lot of time with Rush. And you didn't understand him until you heard him for a while. He used to always say, hey, I need 6 weeks. Because you think Rush is the biggest egotistical jerk in the world, but in truth, he was pretty humble, and he really loved people. He was very nice to people that disagreed with him. He'd put them up to the top of the list. He'd be very understanding. And he actually, by the end of the conversation, he was so winsome that people were like, I didn't know that I was a conservative until you actually broke it apart for me. I thought you were this because you were labeled that way. And that's, in many ways, that's what we have to have people come to the church for a little while, because they're, sometimes we call them seekers, or people that are willing to start asking questions about God. They're, maybe they've been burned, maybe they've heard stuff, but they're just trying to figure it out. And that first kind of introduction to God many times is a person who either greets him at the door, or maybe they hear a message.
Well, it's like the first time I met with Micah. Like, I was drawn to, I could tell Micah was genuine and he loved what he was doing. And that's part of why I said, I think we can use this guy on the radio, because he genuinely loves, and I know you've interviewed enough people over the years and worked with enough people that when someone's BSing you, and when someone's genuine in the way they feel for what they do.
And you also know when they would resonate with an audience that you already have. And so, like, because I don't think when you guys first did the interview, I don't think I was part of that.
No, I didn't meet you until, I had the phone interview because I got thrown out of the Republican Party.
Right. Was I in that?
You were.
Okay.
But
she's like, he looks like Seth MacFarlane.
I know, because Rob told me about you, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good story. We'll do that story. And I remember after we interviewed you on the phone, I remember after having like that first interaction, I was like, he's so easy to talk to. And that's hard to do, actually. I mean, I think there's people just assume, I could talk to anybody on the phone and it'll be fine. But there is. And I don't know if it goes back to like the thing where I was worried about you, Rob, when we first met. I was like, is he going to be able to play? You instantly played. You know what I mean? And so it was like, I could tell that you were super easy to talk to, and you were super engaging about your story. And that is a talent. I mean, that's a talent. And that's why it's worked out so well for you to fill in for either one of us when we're out.
Oh, it's easy. I think when you get around like-minded people who know what's going on in the world, but also can not take it so seriously, like you want to go jump out the window after you're done talking to them, like you can. It is like you said. It's easy to play. And anytime I've filled in on WIBC, it's like I forget that we're actually on the radio. It's just like we're having a good time, laughing together and making fun of Jacob or.
Now does Micah properly file for his off days when he comes in with us? Because I've heard he's trying to write this off as some sort of ministry function or something.
Well, there was a day we were having staff meeting, and his camera's blacked out. And I'm like, why is his camera blacked out? and then it shows up, and then I have to look at the rest of the staff, and I don't. He's at WIBC.
I literally had, Mock, this was the first time I filled in with you. No joke. I had my computer up, and you couldn't see me or my computer because we were sitting across from each other. But I had the microphone here, and I had my earbud in on my other ear. I'm listening to the meeting on the show with you.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, this could be good or bad.
Well, you're obviously way better at multitasking than Rob. Because like anytime I can tell when he's not totally listening to me.
So my issue is
Here we go.
I bet a lot. And golf will start at like 8 in the morning. So if on Thursday and Friday, if one of the guys I've bet on tees off early in the morning, I've got to do the radio show and follow this guy virtually around a golf course. And that's not easy to do.
No, it's not easy to do.
I'm so sorry. You have a hard life, Rob. That is tough, man. That's tough.
One of the things
the stress
that
you put on yourself.
Yeah. One of the things that you, Rob, and you, Micah, both have mentioned, and I think you too, Nathan, that in this conversation is that we have this ability to not take ourselves too seriously, right? And that's what makes, I think, the shows that we do fun. But we also, to your point that you made earlier, Rob, we also, to the point where, he's talked about other radio hosts who get like super wound up if something doesn't go right. Like if there's a technical issue, if there's some sort of mess up, if the producer doesn't hit the sounder at the right time. All of these things are like a normal part of radio, right? Well, starting way back with the Chicks and continuing on to this day, I embrace the mistakes because I feel like the more that those happen and the more that we can laugh them off, the more real and genuine we are. And I don't ever want to be the kind of person who gets upset when the mistakes happen because they happen to everybody. Yeah. And so to the extent that we can just roll with it, I feel like that makes us all more relatable to the audience and that they appreciate the fact that things don't go perfectly for you all the time. Things are going to happen. And even because Daisy and I, now that we do the Chicks on the Right radio and video podcast, we get told by our producers, don't mention the technical errors. Like, don't focus on the fact that your connection is bad. And I'm like, I can't not do that. If the connection is bad and I know it,
Daisy goes away,
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna address it because people constantly comment, I can't hear Daisy, or there's an echo, and so I'll be like, oh my God, you guys, this echo is terrible. I like addressing it.
You should see a church service at like
I know, right?
We have this all the time. Hey, that word is definitely spelled wrong. And
it was supposed to be shift.
But don't you think it's better to just own it and laugh about it?
And people, that's kind of like the excellence that everybody wants. It's not necessarily everything goes great, but it's the excellence of character. I think it's the excellence of things that outside of these stupid things going wrong. This is who we are. You just try. That's authenticity, right?
That's a business principle. That's an organization. Like top organizational leaders will tell you, you have to have a culture where there's freedom to fail. And I think if your people feel like there's freedom to fail, they take risks. And risks are what grow the talent. It's what grows the organization, the income, whatever you're doing, like you're building something. When there's freedom and your team knows that, there's a lot of growth that happens. And I think,
And one of the things Mock and Daisy did really well, and it took me a while to understand this, because I grew up like you guys did. It was Rush, it was Garrison, it was, these traditional Hannity, Mark Levin, just the regular suspects of talk radio. Is Mock and Daisy got outside of the little box of mainstream conservatism, which is tax rate, growth of government, the traditional things that we talk about. And they talked a lot about
midget porn.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to edit that one out. That's although this is Jesus, sex, and politics.
I thought that's why we were here, was for the sex side of it. We thought you guys had the Jesus and politics covered.
Are you worried about the porn or the fact that I said midget?
I don't know. Actually, my mind doesn't know which way to go on this one. So
there is a genre for that.
Well, that's the point, right? Because that's actually the name of a genre.
And so one of the things that that they did really well is start talking about things that might attract people from the outside who otherwise, when scanning their dial, wouldn't stop if they heard we're talking about raising the debt ceiling, but they would stop if they heard in some capacity about the Kardashians. Well, if you can get them interested enough in, hey, these people are talented enough and I enjoy listening to them, even if they're talking about the Kardashians, then maybe I'll stay when they're talking about how hypocritical the Republicans are on the debt ceiling. And they did, and that was one of the things Mock really showed me, and it's made me a much better broadcaster. I was actually considering the priesthood before I met Mock.
I'm sorry, I should not be laughing at that. Oh, yeah, I guess God could use you too.
But they showed me, hey, you have to be able to talk about these other things because the audience is getting younger. You know, there's we can't do things the way we always did them, and she's done a great job of that over the years of taking non-political topics and making them interesting enough that when you get to the political topics, people will want to stay.
You're still there listening. On the drive home, I remember, Hollywood crushes. Okay, if I wouldn't have been married with this, and I'm like, I can't help but be intrigued. I got to find out what Mike's going to say here.
And we do, or at least I do, contrary to popular belief, I don't just sit around drinking Long Islands, betting on sports, and viewing a Pornhub membership all day.
In your underwear.
Yeah. But
at Taco Bell.
Yes. Rob consumed 7,832 calories today, and they all came from KFC and Wendy's. But I've been able to kind of take this person and create and push it to the absurd to prove a point. Because there are people who are the absurd, and if you engage the absurd, it proves a point and it draws people in. It's fascinating to me how, and again, I'm sure you guys find this, that people are just afraid to engage and expand who they are. And sometimes it's fun to have fun with that if you're not worried about, oh, people are going to judge me and think I'm really that person.
Yeah.
There's, I just kind of thinking about, when you're drawing people in and you're getting them to have a conversation with you, like a lot of my conversations don't involve the Lord at first, or faith or morality or anything like that. You're just looking for where you can connect with people, and they got to know, you got to take the time to develop that and just be a fun person. To get people to join in the conversation. They actually care about what we have to say once they like you. They got to get to like you.
That's why I'm so proud of the fact, and I know this was true for me and Daisy, it's true for me and Rob too, that a lot of our listeners will say, I'm a Democrat and I can't stand your politics, but I really love your show.
That's
and
cool.
so anytime I hear that, I'm like, we're doing this right.
Because
if we're at least entertaining them and we're making them laugh, then maybe at least a little bit of the stuff that we're saying is actually
the truth.
It's like, maybe it's percolating a little bit.
Well, and how many times did, you mentioned that you grew up too on Rush, how many times did people come out and say, I never knew I was this?
Right.
And it took a long time. When we're trying to bring people to faith in Jesus, it's like a lot of the WIBC listeners. I think they know what truth looks like, but they don't know where it came from. They don't know where it originated. And so, a lot of times that's what happens when you're reading the Bible and you're understanding this is the process of this. And we can actually come and say, yeah, you believe that because God put that in your heart. It comes from here.
Yeah. We were talking about this the other day, the story of the Mayflower.
Yeah.
And you brought this up, Nathan.
Are you talking about the Pilgrims or when the Colts came to Indianapolis from Baltimore?
Talking about the Pilgrims. Well, because it's an interesting.
Did you bet on both? I don't know if you.
Yeah. I took the under on the Pilgrims making it.
I was talking to my brother this past weekend, and we started talking about how so many people, they hate the conversation about politics because they hate a personality, not because they hate the policies. They hate Donald Trump personally, right? But when you ask them, what exactly did he do that you hate so much? They cannot bring up, an answer. And so in the lane of, America kind of in its founding, we had people that were on the Mayflower because they were in search of freedom to make a buck, freedom to, have a better life than they had in England. And you also had on there the religious folks, which were the Pilgrims. They were called, they were really called the separatists. You had the Puritans who were trying to get to purify the Church of England from the inside, and then realized that's going to be really tough to do. The separatists is like, we're gone, you know, and they were
So
the ones
I
on the-
equate it to, so I can reform the Republican Party from within. Rob is like, I'm gone. See you later.
It's a great illustration, right?
We have this conversation all the time.
Yep.
Say, Micah, it's so much nicer over here.
Yeah. But when you had the separatists and what the people who were just coming to say, I just want to make a buck, they were called the strangers, right? So, you know, we've got this real deep Christian faith over here. We've got the strangers over here. They're in it for a buck, but they're still on the same Mayflower, still signing the same, you know, original compact, right? And where we set up all of our policies, and this has worked. And it's a lot of times, I think the religious right sometimes wants to destroy the Donald Trump, but he's right on so many things. He's helping us. And then this side goes, well, you are all a bunch of freaks and we don't want any part of your religiosity, or, you know, what they perceive as that. But there's actually quite a boat there.
You're both walking in the same direction. And that's what we were trying to
play nice a little bit here, because we can work together.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we see, we're both going for freedom. You know, there's this idea that hey, we could team up. And I think in that approach, when you team up, I think both sides start to actually give each other a little more grace. You know, I think when it was hard. I was a Ted Cruz supporter in the primary before.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Were you not?
Who do you think I was for in the primary?
I don't know. Wasn't Johnson? Which one?
You know, it's interesting because when it started, I really liked Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And when I saw Trump get off that elevator in New York.
Escalator.
Is it escalator? Or is
It
it an
was the
elevator?
golden escalator.
Yes.
Is it an escalator?
Escalator is the stairs.
Elevators when it shuts.
Correct.
What is this, 1932, man? Like, have you never been in an elevator before?
So
there's an elevator you take every day up to the 4th floor in the studio.
When he gave that speech in New York announcing he was running, I said, man, if I were rich and famous and running for president, that's what I would be and that's what I would say. And he was like the first person that was like, he doesn't care whether he wins or not. He's out to just burn everything in his path to the ground. And maybe we need that.
Yeah.
And people kept saying, oh, he can't win, he can't win, he can't win, he can't win. It was like, there's a lot of people out there that believe that, and he's going to win. And I won several sizable wagers, not that gambling on politics in the United States is legal.
Abdul had to take out a loan to pay you back.
But getting back to this, and Mock does this better than probably any radio person I've dealt with, and I know you guys have to do this in what you do every day. I call it a point of commonality, and that is to start something that everybody can agree on. And I remember when I was in public office, we had a police chief, and every time you'd meet with him, he was a fisherman on the side, and every time you'd meet with him, he'd talk about fishing, and it's like 7 people in the world know about professional fishing, and God bless you that you know about that and like that. But you're not finding any point of commonality that we can sit there and build off of, because when I meet with you, I don't immediately start talking about Bruce Springsteen, because there's not a point of commonality. You might talk about, hey, how about those Colts? Or, you know, man, the Pacers are doing really good.
Yeah.
Can you believe IU basketball? Archie Miller, how bad is that? And it's finding that point of commonality. And Mock does that really quick, better than anybody. When we had our night with WIBC, she's great at sizing people up and finding the point of commonality where they feel really good. And I know in your guys, what you do every day, that's a huge thing too.
We actually, as we're preaching messages, kind of what we do is we go to the Bible, we say, okay, what's the message? And then we build the intro and the challenge, allowing the Bible to set the diet rather than us as preachers. What that does is it forces us not to just get up on our own soapbox and talk about the things we want to, but instead, let's make it about what God says, right? So one of the things that we do is when we find out, okay, this is the problem of who we are as people, then we start with a self-deprecating story that, where you're basically making fun of yourself, and I'm struggling with this, but I'm probably not the only person in the room. And everybody jumps on and goes, yeah. Now they're, you're definitely messed up.
This is why you never went into the priesthood, because you'd be like, I'm struggling with this. And people would be like, oh my gosh, that is disgusting.
That's what we do, because the preacher has to challenge himself. Nobody is going to connect with somebody who thinks they've got it all together. You have to put it out there. I am as damaged as you are. Everybody's sexually broken. Everybody's got a problem here. And that's kind of one of the message of where it's actually in our culture, where our culture tries to say everybody is innately good, right? But the Bible actually teaches that everyone is really innately evil. And the Constitution is based on that concept, that everybody is innately evil. That's why we have checks and balances against that evil. When you look at the French Revolution, they build everything on Voltaire that says, oh, you can trust us. Well, no, you can't. The Bible says, know your role. You are the sinner that needs saved. And this is how it works. So we're always kind of trying to make sure people know we don't have it all together, and you can feel free to be a mess. And we're going to love you through that mess because God loves us through that mess.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And you brought up the French Revolution. They built it on man's enlightenment. Mm-hmm. Constitution was on God's truth.
Yeah.
The French Revolution, we've had 7 French constitutions in the same amount of time as we've had one United States Constitution.
Longest serving constitution in the history of the world.
Yeah. The average constitution lasts about 17 years in the history of the world, and ours has lasted 234 years.
Well, and I think that's where the quote Jefferson came from about the tree of liberty.
Yeah, being sustained by blood of patriots. He thought every 20 years you're going to have, this is only going to last about 20 years.
Right.
And
I
that's
think
what
he
was
would have been okay with January 6th, actually.
Well, January 6th, I think he would have said, that's not an insurrection.
That's liberty.
It's like come back in a couple hundred years, we'll show you an insurrection, right?
Yeah. So I think that's right.
Yeah. But overall, I do think the commonality that the WIBC audience has with the church, and the church has with the WIBC audience that I've seen, is that there is this hunger for freedom. Right? It's just people want to be free. And I think when you dive into the church world, we're going to say, hey, there's a right way and a wrong way to live, but you have the freedom to choose. And we're going to protect your freedom. Now, we may not agree with your actions, and we're going to tell you if you're living in a way that's going to have consequences, but we're going to protect your freedom to do it. But we're just going to be honest with you. And I think the WIBC audience is feeling the same way, whether you're Christian or not. They're saying, just let us be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In truth, it's love. It's really the definition of love. Like if you go back to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, without the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and God putting a way for us to have a different choice. I want you to serve me. I want you to love me. But love requires choice. It requires freedom. And so God is the author of liberty right there. I'm not going to make you love me. I want you to love me. I mean, we'd all be playing co-ed naked volleyball if it weren't for what they did. Right?
Go on.
I was waiting for that one. Rob perked up. Oh, you're telling me the fall of man caused us not to be able to
messed it up, Rob.
Over an apple. I mean,
it was you have to choose to love me or not. God is so good when it comes to freedom, and there's things that we end up loving more than we love God. In all actuality, Adam loves Eve more than he loves God. When Eve eats the fruit, he's going to lose. She's going to die.
Women.
And
for some reason, we still gave you people the right to vote.
she's gonna die, and she's gonna be lost. And Adam now is like, am I gonna let her be lost alone? you could almost say it's romantic stupidity, you know? And he goes, I'm going to eat it too. Because when I was a little kid, I don't know if you guys grew up in Sunday school at all, but they always taught us on flannel graph, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And in flannel graph, Adam was never in the picture. The serpent's talking to the woman, and Adam's not there. He doesn't know he's going to eat the fruit, you know? But he was right there. And it's this actually a picture of really weak male leadership.
Yeah.
He had heard it directly from God. Don't do it, you know? So freedom is just at the core value of what real Christianity is. You can't love God apart from being able to choose him.
You know, it's amazing as people of the church always do. You have taught me so much here today. I realized of all my terrible dating choices over the years, it's not my fault. I'm just carrying on the tradition of Adam because he made the first original terrible dating choice.
He did.
That's right. You know, you're not wrong, but you're kind of wrong.
I don't feel nearly as bad about all those times in Broad Ripple now.
In all actuality, he was married at that point.
Yeah. He wasn't dating, and the Lord gave him his wife. So who's the Lord giving you, Rob?
What?
I don't see a wedding ring, Rob.
Yeah.
Are you married?
No, I'm not. I'm not married. I have a woman associate.
That is a very affectionate term.
Yes.
I mean, for those who haven't heard it before, he means that with all the affection in the world.
Yes, she is. She's very wonderful. She wants nothing to do with my life of limelight. So we playfully call her a woman associate.
That's
awesome.
funny.
I met her one time.
I still have not met her.
You've not met her?
No, I have.
You've
I met her at work. That's right. I met her at work, and then I haven't met her since.
She worked at Emma's. She was one of the IT gurus, and I kept breaking my computer, so she would come over and fix it.
Rob,
And
why
he's
are you
saying that
kicking this
Yeah.
thing?
in air quotes,
Yeah.
breaking
Yeah,
his
breaking-
computer.
Why is there mustard in your hard drive?
It looks like a hammer took this thing. There's one sitting right there. That's right. No, that's great. Well, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
It has been fun.
It's awesome. Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. No, this is great. So, and thank you for what you're doing. Keep speaking truth in such the winsome, fun way that you do every day.
That's right.
And if you're in Indianapolis, MocknRob, they're on 93 WIBC FM. And then they also have the podcast. So we got a lot of people that listen outside of the Indianapolis area. But go to Apple Podcasts and you can listen to all the shows there. And it's worth it.
Can I close with a question for both of you guys?
I thought you were going to say, can I close with a prayer?
That's what it kind of. I was like, is he gonna pray?
We're in church world. It's like whenever someone says, "Can I close?" It's going to be with a prayer.
It's gonna be a prayer.
Now
But
you
I was
guys-
like, this is gonna be interesting.
Now, you guys will not believe this, and neither will our audience, and I don't think I've ever told Mock, but every day when I get to work, the first thing I do before I leave the car to come into work is I say a prayer for the day.
It's amazing.
kidding.
I'm not nearly as terrible as people think I am.
Do you pray to Jesus?
I do, yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, I know. The Father, the Son, I know them all, man.
No kidding. No kidding. Don't act so surprised, Nathan. Okay.
I know. Nathan looked so concerned when we showed up. He's like, this studio is going to light on fire. But the point of that is people have their relationships with the Lord in many different ways, and you never know who it is. But I did want to ask a very serious question to both of you.
Yeah.
As someone who has had a hair transplant, my hair does not set nearly as perfect as either of yours.
For real, you guys
And
have
I'm
good
wondering
hair.
how you both do it.
Well, listen, I just want you to know, whenever you're talking about it, I'm always trying to write down the number of the guy that helped you, because I'm like, this is going away. I'm walking outside. He screams out of his office. I'm in a parking lot across the thing. He's like, man, is your hair going? I'm like, thanks, bro.
You can see it if he turns around. It's balding on the back there.
Shut
It looks
up.
like Friar Tuck.
But
I've thought about those pills, but there's repercussions for
which
those.
which pills are we talking about? 'Cause
No,
there's
not
multiple.
those pills. You have to buy more pills to handle the first pills you took.
WeGrowHairIndy.com, but I'm just curious because
You
both
find a way to get that in everywhere.
Yeah, that's why they pay me.
They pay you. That's exactly right.
But I'm curious, how do you guys consistently get the hair to look so nice?
It's pretty amazing.
So I have
He's
a gel.
listing them.
So I've got a gel. I go to Sport Clips.
Okay.
Okay. So I go to Sport Clips, and there's There's some good stylists there that I use. And then they've got a matte clay. It's a matte clay gel, or not a gel. It's like a matte clay, I guess. It's a clay. And so I put that in. But here's the trick. I didn't realize this until they were teaching me a few months ago, because I was like, you guys always get it really good when I walk out, and I can never do it. And the trick is to put that clay in your palm, rub it around, okay, and get it all over your hand, and then just go through your hair and just start
raking it
just
in there.
raking it in. Yep. And then you can mold it the way you want it to mold. And then afterwards, here's the secret sauce. Do you know the yellow got to be glued hairspray? It's a yellow bottle. You can get it at CVS. It's really bad for your hair, but
you should get some.
you should get some. And
Try
that's
this. It tastes terrible.
It's a hairspray, and so then you just kind of spray it and lock it in, and then you can walk out and you're good to roll. So yeah, so you can ride your motorcycle and you still jump off your motorcycle, do a hair flip, and it looks exactly the same way.
I'm a $25 Great Clips guy, and the crew thing, when I have to buy one and it's $13, I'm mad that week when I walk out.
That's true. Yeah, it's just $50.
And I realize you have to put it. You got to get your hair dry. Put
That's
your
true.
hair dry.
That's
if you put it in wet, it doesn't hold. And then I just have to keep pushing it up throughout the day.
Because every time I've ever tried to do my hair, it looks like a train wreck. Like I'm worried someone's gonna stop me and ask for my identification and what insane asylum I broke out of. And you guys just are so on point with your
They're
hair.
That's
very
because
put
you
together.
don't wear pants.
Yeah,
If you
that's true.
start wearing pants, that'd be.
When I got married, I found out really that my wife did not like the way I dressed, and she didn't like the way I did my hair.
Still to this day?
No. When I first got married, and I thought, well, she's the one I have to try and impress. So I said, just go ahead and change anything you want to. And boy, did she change a lot of stuff.
And now they play naked volleyball out back behind their house.
And we've come full circle.
But the Bible says they were naked and unashamed.
That's right. That's good. Oh yeah. No, you guys, there's no shame there. I'm telling you.
It's just we have to pick the time when the neighbors are.
We're asleep. Oh, that's funny. Well, hey, thanks for listening. Hey, like us, subscribe to us, give us a 5-star rating, share, tell your friends about Jesus, Sex, and Politics. Again, we had MocknRob as our guest today from WIBC. Check them out on WIBC 93.1 or their podcast. So, Nathan, thanks for being here. MocknRob, thanks for being
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
Yep. So this has been Jesus, Sex, and Politics. I'm Micah.
And I'm Nathan.
And we talk about all those things that culture doesn't want to talk about.
That was good.
Catch you next time.